So to kick off the first episode of our little Millennial Money series, I thought it'd be really good if we could speak to Damien and ask him what 3 things he wished he knew when he was in his mid-20s that would try and help us out. So Damien, what 3 things do you wish that you knew?
There's a lot of things I wish I'd known when I was in my mid-20s, and what I was going to do is just give you 3 things that I think would have made me better with money, but nobody ever taught me. So we'll start with number 1, and I wish I'd known the value of money. Now, by that I mean, yes, how much you can buy in the shops, that we kind of all know, but the thing I didn't appreciate is the real value that it meant to me. So if you have a job, and I was frivolous with money. I used to spend it like it was going out of fashion. I used to buy what I wanted, go down the pub all the time, like everybody does who's in their mid-20s. The problem was I didn't really know the value of it. So if I had a job, what was my hourly rate? Or even if I wasn't paid by the hour, what would my hourly rate equate to? If I knew that, then I would have known how much or how many hours I would have had to work to be able to buy the frivolous thing that I bought, or that night out down the pub, or all those things. And that would have probably helped me not get into as much debt as I did. Because I'll be honest with you, although I do the money stuff now and then expert and all those things, I made all the mistakes that everybody else made and learnt from them. So it would have stopped me getting into so much debt as I did in my early 20s.
If you're out there thinking of buying that nice Louis Vuitton handbag, think how many hours it might take you to buy it. And I'm not saying for 1 second to not buy it, because I
Because you probably bought a lot of Louis Vuitton handbags.
I've got about 6. Not Louis Vuitton, no, Michael Kors.
See, I don't even know. Louis Vuitton is like fashionable, isn't it, Lauren? So this is the point that Lauren's making me relevant because
I have a very good motto: is do I need it or do I want it? And if I need it, I buy it, and if I want it, I also buy it.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, I worked out rather later than probably Lauren has about the idea of what the value was. So once I did that, then I realised I was having to work about a day or two to be able to afford the thing that I won't get into the worst thing I ever bought. I will do one day in this series the things that I bought, the frivolous things that would, trust me, if you're watching this video, I probably bought something that's far more frivolous than you did when I was in my early 20s. So that's number 1.
Okay, so what about number 2?
Number 2 for me was debt, and more importantly, how debt worked, and the traps of debt. Because, like I said, I racked up a lot of debt, like anybody does. But it was one of those things that I used to get into debt because when you go down the pub, your mates would say, "Oh, can you afford it?" And no, when you say, "Could you afford it?" What am I talking about? They say you're coming down the pub, and then I'd go and draw money out of the hole in the wall, and I'd do it on my credit card. And it was that spiral that I didn't quite appreciate, because even though because what you're doing is you're borrowing from your future self, and you're going to have to pay it back. No one else is going to pay it back for you. And I wish I'd understood that. It sounds silly, but I wish I'd understood the fact that at some point there was going to be a crunch time, like my future self would knock on the door and basically want their money back. That's how it works. And so that happened to me when I was in my sort of later 20s, but that impacted about when I could buy a house and all those things. And so if I'd understood that and the traps, because one of the things people don't realise is that banks, they don't care about you. They just want you to, they give you loans, they give you student accounts with overdrafts, because they know once they get you, you're going to be a customer for life. And then they're going to get a mortgage, which is going to make lots of money out of you when you buy your house. And so what they're doing is it's a form of entrapment almost. So I wish I'd understood that, and I wouldn't have used all that money and spent it. I would have probably actually lived within my means more than I did. I'm not saying I would have been perfect, but I definitely would have done it more than I did.
So then, Damien, for your 3rd thing that you wish that you knew when you were 20?
Paying yourself first, the benefit of doing it, because it's a concept of trying to save, because everyone tells you, oh, you've got to save money. If you want to have a house, you've got to save. You'll never get a house or save up a deposit. But the idea of paying yourself first is a slightly different way of looking at it. So if you've got bills, the way it works, your money comes in from your job, money goes out of your account almost immediately to pay lots of different bills. The idea is you should set up a standing order for even a £5 a month that pays you I put some money from your current account into a savings account. So it's the idea of paying yourself first before all the others. But you've got to make sure you've got enough money left to pay your bills. But what it is, you get used to the idea of having money go out and you don't miss it. If you do that, the younger you do that, the smaller that amount needs to be if you want to achieve whatever it is, buying a house or retiring. So if I'd got into that idea when I was younger, I would have probably saved hardly anything, but small amounts. But the power of compounding, which is that snowball effect, that things get bigger and bigger and bigger, then that would have made a huge difference. And I probably would have been able to buy a house quicker. I'm not going to pretend I would have had a house like 10 years earlier than I did, but I would have had darn sight less debt and I would have had a bigger deposit at the time I did buy a house.
So if you were saying to someone who was going to do that and put money aside, what's the best way for them to do that? Because I do that, move it over, and then a few days later, take it back out again.
See, I don't. That's just human nature, right? We're all humans, and anyone who tells you that anyone who has a go at you for being human, I just think hasn't got any sort of grip on reality. The best way to do it is if you put it across, like you say, in the savings account. You can't stop it if you're going to transfer it back, but it's better if it does go into a completely different account, and a savings account where you're penalised if you take the money out. So I can't stop you doing that. But I mean, Lauren, you've been doing work on Money to the Masses about loads of different apps. And there are a number of apps now, because when we did this years ago and tried to be able to do things where you try and save money or try and put money aside, there weren't the apps or the online banks that did it for you. You had to come up with convoluted ways of doing it. So, I mean, take it away, because you've been doing stuff on a number of apps and there's a couple that you like.
Yeah, so at the moment I've been using Monzo. So when I get paid, I have two different bank accounts, one that has all my bills coming out of it and another one that I transfer all my spending money. And I was looking at these banking apps recently and I decided to download Monzo. I went abroad and I decided to use Monzo when I was abroad, and I put all of my spending money on my Monzo account. And I actually thought it was really great because it gave me my notifications and it told me exactly what I spent the money on, and it did it a bit like Revolut. It did it in real time and the real time conversion so that I got the best rate or potentially the worst rate, but it saved me from having any cash and having to walk around drawing cash out. And also I did a savings pot within the Monzo, which meant that whatever I spent money on, whatever I had left over, say I spent something that was £10.43, the rest of that money, to round up to the nearest pound, would then go straight away into that savings pot. So whilst I was away for 2 weeks, I actually saved up £13 just by spending. So that is one of my favourite features of the Monzo app, and I've tried a lot of them recently, and I find that budgeting and managing my money is the best way through my phone, and I actually don't even log on to a laptop anymore. Everything that I have is all in my phone, and it's the best way for me to
Yeah,
money.
see, I'm different because I've always done it via laptops when we had online banking and before all the app stuff. But what Lauren's underplayed there is that we're kind of shaking things up a little bit. With Money to the Masses, Lauren is actually writing the reviews about all these app-only banks and the different things like, you mentioned Revolut, there's another one, Curve, which does something slightly different. And so what's really cool is if you've got a millennial who is writing about these things aimed at millennials, you can really shake up what the market is doing. We're not having sort of journalists who are getting paid to write about these things. It's actually honest views about it. So Lauren slightly underplayed that. So go and look on Money to the Masses. You will find reviews of nearly all those apps via Money to the Masses, and go and find Lauren's view on it, because what we're going to end up doing is, Lauren hasn't worked it out yet, but she's going to become the most influential person on the millennial app side of things. So that is exciting, and therefore we're going to be talking more and more about these things in coming videos.
So to finish, it would be really great if you have any of these questions, if there's anything that you wish you were taught at school, that you wish you knew now, there's something that you would like to do with your money, you have any savings goals, any questions at all, if you email me at lauren@moneytothemasses.com, and then I will pose your question to Damien. Doesn't matter how stupid you think it might be, because I have probably asked a more stupid question than you, and Damien will answer it for you, and he simplifies everything down so that we can start building up an account of somewhere where we as millennials have somewhere to go, where we can find out any information about money, budgeting, saving, because at the moment there isn't anything like that out there on the internet, and that's why we want to do that for you. If you follow us on social media, Facebook, Money to the Masses, Instagram at Money to the Masses, and Twitter at Money2, the number 2, the Masses, and go onto our website and find out all the reviews there.
Yeah, Lauren's absolutely tearing up our Instagram, because obviously before Lauren, she'll admit it, before she came along, our Instagram was rubbish, and now actually she's tearing it up. So go and follow us on Instagram at Money to the Masses.
At no point in these videos do we want you to feel like you can't go out and do anything to save money, because I myself want to go out down the pub with my mates, I want to go out and do things. There's nothing worse than trying to save money but actually being stuck indoors, because that seems like the only way that you can do it. So that is also another aim of this video.